Our society is short-term thinking. It's not a consumer society, and that is one big problem for even tech companies in a country like India.
Samsung coming up with a fridge which would order itself. Have you ever used that functionality?
Not every business has to be successful. That is the mantra in Silicon Valley. 99 out of 100 fail, but the one that makes it more than makes up for the failures. Facebook tried to do Meta. So what if they fail? Somebody else will try a version of Meta that will succeed. And when it succeeds, it will change the whole world because 7 billion people on the planet will use it.
Hello, friends. Welcome to yet another episode of BQ Breaking Boundaries with Sabeer Bhatia. And today we have a very special guest with us, Ramesh Awtaney. Welcome, Ramesh ji.
Thank you, Javed sir.
Just as well that you've made it and against all odds. Ramesh was, he had promised to us that he will join us for this episode about 8 days ago. And then he broke his shoulder. He went to the hospital, had a major surgery, and lived up to his word to come and attend this today. He's coming directly from the hospital. Thank you very much. Really appreciable. Your will, your strength, and the fact that we will have the pleasure of your company on the show.
Thank you.
So, the subject that we will delve into a bit today is making of a unicorn, because Mr. Ramesh Awtaney himself is a huge force behind a huge group. And he is going to tell us some anecdotes of his. Also, we will discuss certain aspects of the unicorn. Now, Ramesh is one of the most unique guests that we have today in the sense that, he's been a trailblazer, a telecom and IT executive at IBM who actually completed $3 billion of revenue within a matter of 8 years, whereas the promise was of 50 million. So those are the kind of things he's done. And subsequently, he set up ISON. He was his own employee when he went to Africa. And today, he employs over 20,000 people in 35 countries, uh, touching the lives of about 500 million consumers. How interesting has this journey been? So, Ramesh, the first question that I would put to you is what is so unique about your journey? And uh, how have you reached where you are? I mean, just a little something on that.
You know, this is a very interesting question. I'm often asked on what is the strategy? How did you do it? And I have a very simple answer to all the guys who do strategy with no disrespect to anybody. You shoot and then circle. If you will try to circle and shoot, most of the times it won't work. तो हम तो जो है करते चले गए और story kept happening. So started from a very modest place in Rajasthan, came to Delhi and just had that thing about doing something, turning up. As you said, that I promised you, and I remember this promise was made on 15th of May, which is only about 12 days back in Dubai, that I'll do this show. And then I had this unfortunate fall on 17th, and then 10 days in hospital. I actually literally got relieved at 3:30 today and went home and tried to look a little bit more presentable like you guys. And here we are. So, one of the things I've learned is show up. Unless you show up, you would find one common trait across anybody who has done anything significant or anything even little less significant is sticking to a work ethics. If you made a promise, deliver up to it. If you say something, do it. And the reason I say that is this is the foundation of the trust. Trust is built on showing up, on living up to your word, of being there, of doing it. I think if you were to ask me one single thing which has worked with me is I have relentlessly tried to live up to that trust, that commitment, that showing up 4 o'clock or in the morning or 12 o'clock in the midnight.
Wonderful. And we really respect that. So, Sabeer, I mean, how would you define a unicorn?
Well, the simple definition of a unicorn is obviously a company that's valued at over $1 billion. And but valuation metrics are cyclical. I mean, it's all of these so-called plays, momentum. One day they are there, tomorrow they may not be there. I mean, really, that is, I think, a fleeting definition of a unicorn. And when people use it liberally, I think they are doing injustice to the heart of startups, and which really are the economic engine, of progress for a country. So saying we've got so many unicorns, we do this, do that, is being too arrogant and pompous. When you're young, you obviously want to boost the valuation of your company as much as possible. But in the modern context, more tech-enabled plays, I think they should refrain from using the word unicorn, and it's kind of distasteful too. Really, you should, in the technology space, you should think of creating businesses that will scale and that will touch almost every consumer on the planet. I was very fortunate. I was part of a company that did that very early in my career. But it's all luck. I mean, that is luck, because that is not building a company like what you have built brick by brick, but it's just finding the right product fit at a time when the internet was young. And so we kind of grew with the internet. And since then, there have been a number of businesses that have scaled, but at the heart of all of it, they have solved some fundamental technology or pain point that, in my case, customers have. And in my case, customers are consumers. But those are like one in a million. You hit the jackpot only once. It doesn't happen over and over again.
So good. At the time you came out with Hotmail, I don't think there was this concept of an icon. Sorry, unicorn. Uh, Ramesh, I've heard from you the theory of 4 A's. It's very interesting. Would you like to tell us about it?
Well, it's an oversimplified model, and it emerged out of one conversation I was having with somebody on the Indian education system. And I said, the Indian education system is so much built around the ability. And don't get me wrong here, I'm being provocative. Ability to me is equal to mediocrity. You are an able person, you would get a job as a data scientist, nowadays as an AI or IoT or you name it. There are lots of buzzwords. And you're taught physics and you're taught mathematics and you're taught biology or whichever subject you choose, economics, etc., etc. What the curriculum doesn't teach you is the four other important A's. There's no curriculum which is teaching you audacity. Now, I mean, think about a life pre-Uber and post-Uber. And I just took Uber as a random example. I can take an example of Airbnb. So what is it? Does it involve any breakthrough technology? No. Location was already there. Payments were already there. People needed a ride. Drivers needed to ride people. There was a convenience angle which was missing. The telephone became pervasive, and somebody put this all together, and bingo, in less than 5-7 years, Uber is a part of life. You get down at Heathrow, you get down at Frankfurt, you get down at Delhi airport, there is an Uber. Tell me, where is a technology revolution? Somebody's audacity said that this needs to come together. You got a spare bedroom. I want to live in scenic farms. You want a little extra income. You give me a nice room. I save $200 on a hotel. I get a very good experience, maybe home cooked food. And bingo, Airbnb is born. And the list is endless. Now, put this one side. Put another thing on the other side. I've been hearing about Samsung coming up with a fridge which would order itself. And I've heard this now for about 6-7 years. And I've been explained by various salesmen that the fridge would detect that the milk is missing and they'll order it at Amazon and the milk will be delivered and the milk would be put in the fridge at the appointed place. Have you ever used that functionality? You go to a washing machine, you'll get 25 new features in that machine. It would be $2,000 more expensive. 24 features you won't even know. So sometimes we are just getting ahead of the curve. So audacity is not only being audacious, but identifying the need, as Sabeer pointed out, that there has to be a need, there has to be a fitment. My second favorite A has been ambiguity.
What's that again?
Ambiguity.
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 And ambiguity, you can see it in every household. Every household on a weekly basis eats the same food in a rotational basis 7 times a week. So today, if you have eaten dal, tomorrow you'll eat chicken, and day after tomorrow you'll eat something else, depending on your personal choices. But every day morning, either your wife or your maid or whoever is in charge of the kitchen doesn't want to even take that decision. साहब आज क्या बनेगा? What is going to be cooked today? People don't want to decide. People on one side, if you do a survey, would tell you we are not empowered. And on the other side, they don't even want to decide what do they want to eat. How many times you have walked in a restaurant where a friend of yours has said, Acha, what are you eating? We both are paying. There's a food to come from the kitchen. Nobody is cooking for me and you separately. But if you are eating dal, I'll also eat dal. If you are drinking whiskey, I'll also drink whiskey. We are so petrified to deal with ambiguity. Third thing, which is by far my favorite, no curriculum, nobody teaches you articulation. The third A is articulate. You have to articulate at all points in your life. You got to articulate when you are 18 to a girlfriend. You got to articulate. Sher Shairi was born out of articulation.
Poetry.
Poetry was done out of articulation. We are doing this chat show. It's all about articulating. The Prime Minister tells the country on how the future would look like is an articulation. You go to an investor, you go to a shareholder, you go and tell somebody that I want to raise money. It's an articulation. Whether it's a verbal articulation or it's a written articulation, people just don't articulate properly. I so many times see people do not even do a default spell check in a document they write, which takes a nanosecond. Of when you are articulating something, at least put the full stops and the commas at the right place. But nobody teaches you articulation. And the last but not the least is agility. When plan A doesn't work, you got to come up with a plan B. Agility to change from plan A to plan B and from plan B to plan C is so very important. I wish that people are taught for becoming successful entrepreneurs. They are taught in that order to be audacious, to be articulate, to deal with ambiguity, to have the agility. Because I'll tell you what, Javed sir, you can always hire ability. There is none of the four available in the marketplace at any cost. So this four have to come from within you.
Great thought.
So that is, if at all there is a secret sauce of being successful, I won't, like Sabeer Saab said, I won't use the tall words like unicorn and others. Unicorns are byproducts. They happen, and there was a time, I'll take one more minute on this. There was a time when there was plenty of money available and recklessly money was being put on eyeballs, basic Dalal Street as they call it in India, or elsewhere, the other stock exchanges. The basics still go, what is your PE? What is your return on capital employed? What is your market share? What is your PEG? Are you growing faster than the competition? So these are accounting principles which would never ever be replaced by eyeballs. Eyeballs is dream selling. You can sell the dreams and then the valuations fluctuate. The reason why some of these companies, the erstwhile Tatas and Birlas, they still survive and thrive is because they produce dividends, they produce profits, they have a healthy ROC. That is the secret sauce. Don't get distracted by these fancy metrics of what is my CAC, what is my eyeball, what is this, what is that. Just stick to basic principle. If you can't make money after deploying the first $5 million, I promise you, you won't make money after deploying $500 million.
Can I answer to that?
Your response to that?
Yeah. So the first, I think, point that you spoke about decision making, audacity, it all boils down to culture. And there are two kinds of cultures in this world. Independent, like one that promotes independent decision making, and one that promotes consensus-based decision making. In the Western culture, my kids make a decision of what they want to eat, where do they want to spend their time, where do they want to go at the age of 5. And I can't force them to do otherwise, which is not taught in our societies today. And that is why you have an experience, maybe because of an Eastern society, but we have a problem over here. Even at the highest levels of government, we've tried to do deals. Everybody wants blessings from a higher office. Nobody wants to make a decision. Everything goes all the way up to the top. The structures of the society are created in such a manner that decision making, everything has to go to the top, one guy. I mean, which I think is, simply does not scale. So that's one. The second part is articulation. Very well said. Every kid in America knows how to articulate his inner feelings, whatever they be. They are taught how to say no from a very early age, which is something that we don't teach in our culture, because we want to give respect to the elders. We want other people to, to not, their feelings not get hurt. But these are like temporal feelings, and you miss the big point. You for a short term to look good. If somebody, I've had this with Indian programmers all the time. When will this be done? Oh, next week. To save face, they say next week, and that next week didn't come for a whole year. And so that's a little bit of cultural, it's encapsulated in the language, which I think is a big problem, which we need to address. And I hope that as kids are growing up, these decisions and the language also evolves. The second point about unicorn and 5 million, okay, most companies are fluff. I agree with you. Look at a case of Hotmail. It did not make any money then. It still doesn't make money. It's based on eyeballs. And now I'm going to take a very big leap of faith. And I will tell you something, and then I'll stop because I can't tell anymore. There is an idea, a concept that I am contemplating, which may require $5 billion of investment. And I can assure you it will not make any money for the first 5 billion. But if my idea succeeds, this will be a $1 trillion company. But those are once in a lifetime kind of opportunities, that come out of kind of platform-centric ideas that really change the world, but they come once in 2 or 3 decades. And, the very fortunate few have access to them. But I'll stop there, and hopefully that's kind of a different kind of response.
No, Sabeer, with no disrespect, what I was trying to say is a more generic picture. Have there been exceptions? I mean, Uber would have not made money for first few $1 billion, and I would suspect that still it would be at a struggling phase. Not that I have looked at the number.
TikTok, valued at 250
TikTok.
billion,
Yeah. So
losing 4 billion a year.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that you see nowadays Dhobi.com. So
Yeah.
and
I
I'm not
agree with you.
kidding. I'm not kidding. You would see a company called mydhobi.com or myxyz.com, and they'll believe that they are on something very big, and eventually some angels would end up burning their fingers in it. Now, do ideas like Uber, Amazon, minus the AWS, did not make money for 10, 15, 20 years. And today, Amazon is the online.
Right. Those are fundamental technologies.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
but how many are there? You can count them probably on your fingers, or maybe a dozen of them, 2 dozen of them. I'm saying the generic rule of spray and pray, or you know that kind of rule is not working out. That kind of rule where people were thinking, "Kuch to chal," something would work.
So there's a counter argument to that. Not every business has to be successful. That is the mantra in Silicon Valley. 99 out of 100 fail, but the one that makes it more than makes up for the failures. I'll give you an example. When I put money in a fund in the .com era that put money in 250 companies, and every single one of them was failing. The guy who started this, Ron Conway, the one who started this, would write letters and say, it's really hard. I'm not sure if I'll be able to return even 5% of your money. I'm trying to consolidate all these positions and sell them to somebody else. And then magically, one of his investments was Google. And he made 3, 4x for all investors with that one hit, with 349 failures. That is the promise, and that is the end result of technology. And today, yeah, a lot of people failed. They tried. They got re-employed in other businesses, and that is why a country which has such farsight, I should say, is able to take risks on fundamental platform technologies. Only one succeeds, but that one makes it and more than makes up for all the failures. And that is called progress. And failure is okay in the West, no problem. So, yeah, while I wouldn't, and talking about unit economics, while Dhobi.com over here may not work because they are copying a Western business idea, Purple.com, which collects your dry cleaning clothes, works because they are able to charge $4.99, $5.99, $7.99 for a shirt, and people pay for the convenience. I pay for it. Nobody will pay $8 for a shirt over here just to iron it and to dry clean it, but over there you do. And my average bill with Purple.com is $100. And they probably make 40, 50 bucks on that. So that model works over there because society also is willing to pay for convenience. Our society is, short-term thinking. It's not a consumer society, and that is one big problem for even tech companies in a country like India. Big companies don't pay. They pay net 30, net 60, net 90. Companies die on the vine if you don't pay. So you're not supporting a startup ecosystem, yet you want to be a startup ecosystem. So that something has to give. Whereas over there, startups are encouraged. If a company takes the startup software, not only is it paid on time, I mean, there is no negotiation. They're like, wow, this works, this helps our business, we'll pay for it. And that's progress. Design automation tools and things. Here, everybody views things from a cost benefit. Old world, that's an old world thinking, and we have to snap out of it if we want to really jump on the global bandwagon of progress. Because I have seen in my lifetime, in 30 years, $40 trillion of new wealth be created in Silicon Valley because of ideas. We just don't support ideas, and they die on the vine. We try to support old world businesses. I had an example where I had a company over here that was growing faster than WhatsApp. TRAI shut me down. 2 years later, WhatsApp was sold for 20 billion. Today its worth is 200 billion. And because of, no, you are violating some rule. Uber could never have started here because it broke every taxi cab regulation in North America and in India. In India, it would have been shut down. In America, it was encouraged. No problem. As long as you're creating employment, we'll allow you to function. So there is a difference in the way we look and treat startups, and we have to change if we want to succeed as a society.
Ramesh, tell us some other, ingredient that you deploy. I understand that you're a great collector of salts. Of course, you have a lot of culinary talent. You're a great cook. That's what I mean. Your free time. But how do you deploy those skills in your entrepreneurial growth? Because somewhere they would come in and be deployed. Some ingredients, some nice spice of entrepreneurship coming from you.
This is a difficult one, but you know, there is a little bit of a similarity between cooking and entrepreneurship.
I would imagine.
And I'll tell you what, a little bit of a difference here and there changes the preparation of the dish. Try, and I'm just giving you an example. Try a little extra cardamom. Put 2 extra cardamom in a mutton, mutton dish. The green ones as compared to the black ones. The green ones would spoil the dish. The black ones won't spoil the dish. Now, we can go through details on why it happens. Try the reverse in chicken. Exactly reverse in chicken. Try it. And you'll find. Try experimenting a little bit extra cinnamon. A little extra cinnamon would hurt your nose. The right balanced cinnamon would enhance the taste multiple times. So sometimes it's about getting the nuances right. Now bring it to entrepreneurship. I think, and Sabeer would agree with me on this one, that managers don't spend enough time, or entrepreneurs temperamentally are restless people, are sleeves rolled up people. I wish entrepreneurs spend single largest time on organizational development. We don't spend enough time. I have seen very often people making decisions about hiring an HR manager or a finance manager. When I say manager, whether you call him a CFO, CHRO, you can call any fancy designation. Over a 1 hour interview, 2 hours. I would rather want to spend 3 days with a guy. I want to know his personality. I want to know how he moves around. I would want to invite him home. If given a chance, I would like to go to his home. I would like to know the guy on where is the cultural fit. Does he have the same sense of wavelength I have? Because you could be a great guy and I can be a great guy. But you may have a certain way of doing things and I may have a certain way of doing things. If you don't spend enough time on organizational development, if you don't spend enough time on succession, see, this is a competitive world. Very soon, capitalist society, somebody is offered double the salary, he packs his bags, next day he's gone, you are left high and dry. So I think organizational development, not only in terms of who you are hiring, but how you are planning the succession, how you are putting a reward system in place, how you are co-opting the wealth creation. If you are going to have a philosophy where 99% of wealth creation is going to remain concentrated with one or two people who founded the company, and then the rest are going to act as employees. So I think entrepreneurs should spend a little bit more time on organizational development, and one more thing, a little bit more time on compliance. They are so obsessed with speed that most of the times you found, in especially Indian context, in some of the non-famous stories, that compliance was overlooked deliberately, non-deliberately, we can debate it, but was overlooked. So compliance and organizational development to me are two important things. Sabeer, it would be very interesting to hear your view on this.
No, listen, the Indian context is completely, uh, it's a lot of it is copycat ideas. I don't want to get down into compliance and this because they overstate everything, revenues, this, that, but there is almost zero innovation that is happening over here. Amongst all the companies, I mean, companies like Infosys and others are calling themselves software companies. They're just glorified body shops. They hire at some rate and they sell their services at a higher rate. That's it. I mean, it's There is nothing innovative that's going on other than process innovation, being able to write, better reports. That is not even considered software in our world, in the world of Silicon Valley, where you've got true breakthroughs in in software that are moving the needle not just forward, I mean way forward. And that's why you've got the emergence of large language models, a whole new way of writing software. All of software is undergoing change because it's not being run by managers who know how to hire large teams of people and sell their services at a certain price point and hire at a lower price point. That's traditional business. In fact, nobody even is interested in working for a traditional business in Silicon Valley. We are only, working on areas. So, I mean, these are second order issues that I don't even worry about. Compliance, let a compliance officer look at that. I'm looking at kind of ideas like, what Facebook tried to do, Meta. So what if they fail? Somebody else will try a version of Meta that will succeed. And when it succeeds, it will change the whole world because 7 billion people on the planet will use it. Those are the kind of ideas that propel Silicon Valley forward. And so it's a different mindset. I'm not saying one is right or the other. That is innovation mindset. This is more of a applying traditional business principles to the process of software mindset. Like I said, IBM has multiple, hats. It has a whole huge services business, which probably generates a lot of cash. And then it has the research business, IBM Almaden Research Center. And then I don't know what kind of products it makes anymore, but it's not the same as Microsoft or as any other company in Silicon Valley that is doing great things.
No, okay, so it's not, I mean, that is really not the moot point, compliance, but the moot point here was having the right recipe. Both you gentlemen have something in common. One is that both of you are cooks. You go to the kitchen.
Both of us are risk
You
takers.
love your families, you love your children, you make food for them also. The second thing is you have created huge value, both of you. Amazing value for, for everyone. So these are things you have in common. Now, cardamoms in entrepreneurship is something that sounds very good. Cardamoms in entrepreneurship, or the cardamoms of entrepreneurship. And on that note, I would like to bring this conversation to a close, only for the reason that we have a constraint of time. Otherwise, this conversation could have kept going on for long. Friends, if you have any questions for Ramesh or Sabeer, put them on the BCube Showreel app, which you can download from Play Store or App Store. Send those questions to us, and these gentlemen will be more than happy to answer. Thank you for being there with us on this show. Thank you, gentlemen, for all the gyan that we got from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Javed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabeer.